Have you ever trusted someone with everything you've got, only to have them rip your heart out in a way you never saw coming? I'm talking about the kind of betrayal that leaves you questioning every memory, every bond, every ounce of faith you had in the people closest to you. That's exactly what happened to me when I discovered my own mom, my biggest cheerleader, my safe haven, had taken the money I'd spent years saving for my dream vacation, leaving me stranded with nothing but anger and a shattered sense of trust. This isn't just about a few bucks disappearing. It's a raw, gut-wrenching story of family, sacrifice, and the desperate fight to reclaim what's mine while wrestling with the pain of losing the one person I thought would never let me down. Stick with me as I unpack the shock of betrayal, the memories of a bond one thought was unbreakable, and the unexpected truth that flipped my world upside down. I've been torn apart by this, and now I'm at a crossroads, needing your help to figure out if I can ever rebuild what's been broken, or if some wounds are just too deep to heal. Let's dive into one of the hardest chapters of my life, from the dream I fought for to the strength I had to find when everything crumbled. My name's Ethan, and I'm 29 now, sitting in my small apartment in Asheville, North Carolina, where the Blue Ridge Mountains loom in the distance, a constant reminder of the highs and lows I've been through. This story stretches from 2016 to 2023, starting when I was 22, a wide-eyed guy working odd jobs in Asheville, dreaming of a getaway that would finally let me breathe after years of grinding. The core of this tale is the devastating betrayal when my mom, Linda, took the savings I'd painstakingly built for a dream trip to Hawaii, a trip meant to be my first taste of freedom. The emotional conflict tearing me apart is the clash between my burning need to stand up for myself, to reclaim what's mine, and the crushing guilt and love I still feel for my mom, who raised me single-handedly through tough times. The unexpected twist came in 2021 when I learned her theft wasn't just greed. It was tied to a hidden struggle with gambling addiction, a secret she'd buried for years out of shame. This all unfolds in Asheville, a quirky, artsy town nestled in the mountains, from 2016 to 2023, a time of personal growth, heartbreak, and a fight for justice. I grew up in Asheville, a place where the air smells of pine and the streets buzz with local artists hawking their wares, a town that's both a haven and a cage if you're stuck in a cycle of barely scraping by. Back in 2016, I was 22, working as a barista at a hip downtown cafe, the kind with mismatched furniture and live music on weekends, while picking up freelance graphic design gigs on the side. My life was a blur of early mornings steaming lattes and late nights hunched over my laptop. But I had a goal: save enough for a 2-week trip to Hawaii, a place I'd fantasized about since I was a kid watching travel shows with mom on our beat-up couch. I'd walk along the French Broad River after shifts, the water glinting under the setting sun, picturing myself on a Maui beach, the stress of bills and deadlines melting away under a tropical sky. That dream kept me going, even when my bank account grew by just a few bucks a week. Mom was my rock back then, a single parent who'd worked 2 jobs, waitressing and cleaning offices, to keep us afloat after Dad walked out when I was 5. I was still 22, living in a tiny rental near West Asheville, and I'd often stop by her place, a modest duplex near Biltmore Village, to share takeout and laugh over old photo albums, her warm smile a reminder of all she'd sacrificed. She'd always encouraged my dreams, even if they seemed far-fetched, telling me stories of her own unfulfilled wish to see the world while we sat on her porch, the hum of crickets mixing with the distant sound of traffic. I trusted her completely, so when I started saving seriously in 2017, now 23, I didn't think twice about keeping my cash in a joint account we'd set up years ago for emergencies. I checked the balance obsessively on my phone, sitting in Pack Square Park under the shade of ancient oaks, watching it creep up, $500, $800, $1,200, feeling like Hawaii was finally within reach. By late 2018, I was 24, and I'd saved nearly $3,000, a huge milestone for someone who'd never had more than a couple $100 to spare. I was buzzing with excitement, planning the trip for the following summer, spending nights in my cramped apartment scrolling through Airbnb listings for oceanfront shacks, the glow of my screen casting shadows on walls covered with thrift store art. I'd walk through Asheville's River Arts District, the graffiti-covered warehouses a backdrop to my daydreams, imagining snorkeling in turquoise waters, hiking volcanic trails, finally living a piece of the life I'd only seen in pictures. I told Mom about my progress during one of our weekly dinners, her kitchen smelling of garlic and cheap spaghetti, expecting her to beam with pride. Instead, her smile faltered, just for a split second, before she nodded and changed the subject. I brushed it off, figuring she was just tired, but looking back, that tiny crack in her reaction haunts me, a warning I didn't catch. The betrayal hit in early 2019 when I was still 24, logging into our joint account to add another paycheck's worth of savings, only to see the balance at a gut-punching $47. My heart stopped, my tiny living room spinning as I refreshed the page, thinking it was a glitch, but the numbers didn't budge. I sat on my sagging couch, the hum of Asheville's nightlife faint through the thin walls, panic clawing at my chest as I scrolled through transactions, seeing withdrawals I hadn't made, hundreds at a time, siphoned off over weeks. I knew instantly it had to be Mom. No one else had access. I stared at my phone, the screen blurring through hot tears, feeling like the ground had dropped out from under me. This wasn't just money. It was years of skipped nights out, extra shifts, every ounce of discipline I'd poured into that dream, stolen by the one person I'd trusted most. I drove to her place that night, the mountain roads winding under a cold moon, anger and confusion churning. But when I got there, I couldn't even knock, just sat in my beat-up Honda, wondering how the woman who taught me right from wrong could do this. Through 2019, I was a mess, still 24, wrestling with rage and heartbreak, avoiding Mom's calls while I tried to piece together what to do. I'd walk aimlessly through downtown Asheville, past buskers playing banjos and tourists snapping photos, feeling like a stranger in a town I'd always called home. Every familiar corner, now tainted by betrayal. I checked the account obsessively, hoping she'd put the money back, but it stayed empty, a constant slap in the face. I'd sit at Malaprop's bookstore, nursing a coffee I couldn't afford, replaying memories of Mom cheering at my high school graduation, her tired eyes full of pride, and I'd wonder if I'd misjudged her all along, or if I'd done something to push her to this. The dream of Hawaii faded, replaced by a gnawing emptiness, as I questioned whether to confront her and risk losing her forever, or swallow the loss and pretend it never happened. By 2020, I was 25, and the pandemic locked me down, amplifying my isolation as I worked remotely, my apartment a prison of resentment and unanswered questions. I'd stare out my window at the misty mountains, the world on pause, feeling the weight of Mom's silence. She hadn't reached out to explain, and I hadn't found the guts to demand answers. I started digging into the account history again, late at night with only the glow of my laptop for company, noticing patterns in the withdrawals, timestamps that didn't match her work hours. I'd pace my tiny space, the creak of the floorboards echoing my frustration, wondering if she'd spend it on bills or something worse, and why she hadn't just asked for help if she was struggling. I took long drives when restrictions eased, winding through the Blue Ridge Parkway, the endless green a contrast to my turmoil, asking myself if I could forgive her without an apology, or if this theft had severed something fundamental between us. The unexpected twist came in mid-2021, when I was 26, after I finally confronted her during a tense, unplanned visit to her duplex, the air thick with unspoken hurt as I stood in her cluttered living room, the smell of stale coffee lingering. I didn't yell, just asked point-blank where my money went, my voice shaking, and watched her crumble, tears spilling as she admitted she'd been battling a gambling addiction for years, sneaking off to underground card games and online betting sites, using my savings to chase losses she couldn't control. She'd hidden it out of shame, not wanting me to see her as weak after being my pillar for so long, and the withdrawals were her desperate attempts to win it back before I noticed. I stood there, the hum of her old fridge the only sound, stunned as the anger I'd nursed for years mixed with pity, realizing this wasn't just betrayal. It was a cry for help I hadn't seen. It reframed everything, leaving me torn between compassion for her struggle and the raw pain of what she'd taken from me. Through late 2021 and into 2022, I was 27, grappling with this bombshell, trying to rebuild some trust while getting my money back. Mom started attending a local support group for gambling addiction, and I insisted she repay me in small installments from her paycheck, setting up a separate account she couldn't touch. I'd meet her at neutral spots like Pritchard Park, the murmur of street life around us, watching her hand over crumpled bills, her eyes full of regret, and I'd feel a mix of relief and lingering distrust. I'd drive home along winding mountain roads, the fog rolling in, wondering if I was too harsh making her pay, or if letting it go would mean losing respect for myself. I started saving again, slowly, but Hawaii felt tainted now, a dream tied to pain. So I shifted focus to smaller goals, like weekend trips to nearby Gatlinburg, though every deposit reminded me of the hole she'd left. By 2022, still 27, I was also reflecting on our past, sitting on my balcony overlooking Asheville's eclectic skyline, thinking about how Mom had always been my safety net, bandaging scraped knees, working overtime for my school supplies, now shadowed by this betrayal. I'd walk through the Biltmore Estate grounds on quiet days, the the sprawling garden's a place to think, questioning if I'd been too blind to her flaws growing up, or if I'd put her on a pedestal she couldn't maintain. I started noticing her efforts, texts checking in, updates on her recovery, but the warmth we'd had felt distant, replaced by caution, as I wondered if I could ever fully trust her again, or if this was the new normal for us. Asheville's vibrant art scene, the murals and galleries I used to love exploring with her, felt bittersweet, a reminder of what we'd lost. Getting my money back stretched into 2023, when I was 28, with Mom paying off the last of the $3,000 by spring, each payment a small victory, but also a reminder of the rift. I'd sit at my favorite spot by the Swannanoa River, the water's gentle rush calming my nerves, thinking about how hard I'd fought to reclaim what was mine, and how hollow it felt without the closeness we'd once shared. I started planning a new trip, maybe to the Outer Banks instead of Hawaii, something closer, but every travel brochure brought back flashes of logging into that empty account, the sting of betrayal still fresh. I'd linger at local markets on weekends, the smell of fresh bread and sound of bluegrass bands grounding me, wondering if I'd pushed her too hard to repay, or if standing my ground was the only way I'd heal the piece of myself. Reflecting on this mess through mid-2023, I'd take long hikes in the Pisgah National Forest, the canopy of trees a shelter for my thoughts, replaying the moment I saw that zeroed-out balance, the confrontation, her tearful confession. I thought about how her addiction had stolen more than money. It took my sense of security, my blind faith in family, leaving me guarded in ways I hadn't been before. I'd recall simpler times, like baking cookies with her in our tiny kitchen as a kid, the radio playing old country tunes, now tainted by years of unspoken struggle, wondering if she'd felt alone in her addiction, or if I'd failed to notice her slipping. Asheville's foggy mornings, the mountains cloaked in mist, mirrored my uncertainty, as I asked myself if I could rebuild with her, or if some hurts lingered no matter how much time passed. By late 2023, I'm 29, and my life feels steadier. Freelance design work picking up, a small nest egg rebuilt, a routine of morning runs through Montfort's historic streets, and evenings sketching at local cafes. But personal peace remains elusive, each repaid dollar a step forward but also a scar, as I question if Mom and I can ever return to the easy bond of my childhood. I started visiting her more, short stops at her place, the tension easing but not gone, her attempts at amends, cooking my favorite chili, sharing recovery updates, clashing with my lingering wariness. I drive through the Blue Ridge, the endless curves a metaphor for my indecision, wondering if I'm holding onto resentment too tightly, or if caution is the only way to protect myself from more pain. The emotional weight of this unresolved conflict hangs over me, even as my days fill with normalcy, each memory of her theft a reminder of how much I'd questioned my worth to her, and how much I still crave the mom I idolized. I'd spend late nights in my apartment, the city's lights twinkling outside, wondering if I've let this define our relationship too long, or if it's the only way I've kept my boundaries intact. I started avoiding certain family traditions, like our old Thanksgiving potlucks, unable to face them without the sting of memory, though every skipped event made me question if I'm punishing her, or just protecting my own heart. I'd walk through downtown during the holiday drum circle, the rhythm of community a contrast to my isolation, asking if I've been too rigid, or if some breaches of trust are just too heavy to lift. Reflecting on my past became a constant loop through the fall of 2023, especially on quiet evenings when I'd sit on my balcony, sketchbook closed, thinking about the mom who'd once been my everything. I'd recall the time we camped at Lake Santitla, the Smokies stretching endlessly, a memory now shadowed by years of hurt. I thought about small moments, her sneaking me hot chocolate on cold school mornings, cheering at my terrible middle school plays, now warped by time, wondering if she senses my struggle, or if she misses the old us as much as I do. I'd linger at the Asheville Urban Trail, tracing the city's history, questioning if I'd ignored her silent cries for help back then, or if I'd been too consumed by my own dreams to see her. The city's heartbeat, street festivals, mountain breezes, challenged me to decide if I could fully forgive, or if some wounds stayed open. Now, as I sit here in my Asheville apartment, the North Carolina night settling in with the distant sound of a train and the faint glow of downtown lights outside, I'm still wrestling with where to go from here. My life feels like it's on a solid path, with work I enjoy and a town I've grown to love even more, but there's an ache where my unscarred relationship with Mom should be, a fracture I don't know how to mend completely. There are moments when I think about sitting down with her for a real, raw talk, maybe over coffee at our old favorite spot on Haywood Road, seeing if we can rebuild trust brick by brick. Then there's the part of me that hesitates, scared of more disappointment, more secrets, wondering if I can truly let go of the past, or if I should focus on my own peace, even if it means keeping a safe distance. So, I'm turning to you, my listeners, because I'm at a crossroads and I can't see the right path ahead on my own. Do I dive deeper into rebuilding with mom, risk vulnerability, and open myself up to the chance of more hurt if trust breaks again? Or do I prioritize my own healing, keep this cautious distance, and accept that sometimes family comes with limits, even if it breaks my heart to draw that line? I've spent so long grappling with this pain, trying to balance forgiveness with self-respect, but I don't know if I've got the strength to fully let go, or if I even should. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if this story hit close to home, and subscribe if you want to follow how this all plays out. I'm reading every single piece of advice, because right now, I feel like I'm standing on the edge of something huge, and I don't know which way to turn. Thanks for listening to my mess, for being here through the highs and lows of this painful journey. I'll catch you in the next video, hopefully with some clarity, or at least a small step forward. Until then, take care, and let me know, what would you do if you were me?